Welcome, everyone. You just listened to Equipoise's latest release called Demiurgus. Hopefully, I say that correctly. I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm joined by one of the members now. He's a guitarist and compositionist of the band. How about you, again, introduce yourself and tell us kind of a brief history of Equipoise?
So I'm Nick Padovani. Nice to meet you all. It's Equipoise.
Yeah, I'm going to say that wrong every single
No,
time.
it's okay. A lot of people butcher it. But I started it back in 2015 in the summer. So my original co-guitarist, Zach Hahn, and I were just kind of screwing around in the summer, just messing around with riffs. So I started writing some stuff. And the first song I wrote was the song Dualis Flamel, track 8 on the album. And I don't know, we just kind of started riffing through it, and I started coming up with ideas, and then after that, I started writing down ideas for Sigil Insidious, which is the 6th track on the album. And I started writing a little bit for Suit in My Flesh, but then I kind of stopped jamming with him for a reason. Like, we weren't meeting up because summer was starting to wrap up, but
okay.
I ended up downloading Guitar Pro, and on a whim, I was just like, man, I'd like to hear how Sigil Insidious would sound with drums, because I always have like these drum beats in my head, but I never had any proper software or anything to really
do it on.
Yeah, so it was crude because it was Guitar Pro, but I just started mapping out drums in my head, and I tried playing along to it, but it was like sloppy because I didn't really have it rehearsed. And I was like, I'm going to try and tab out the guitar. So I had the guitars and bass for it, or guitar and drums for it rather. I was like, man, this sounds really cool. Like, I would love to hear this with some fretless bass. So then I started composing fretless bass lines.
And it just all came together.
And it just came together. I was like, wow, I think I might have actually did something here that sounds pretty decent. So I started taking a stab at, not Sigil Insidious, Suit in My Flesh. I started writing new songs. I just kept busting through it. And then 3 months later, I had 9 tracks. And I was like, wow, I think I might have actually did something good here. So it was like at the end of 2015, I reached out to Hugo to play bass, Stevie to do vocals, and they both down. So,
did you know these guys beforehand? Like, how did the process of getting the current lineup that you do now? I know you added Jason on drums, and you also added Phil for guitars, correct?
Right. No, so I didn't know any of these people, actually. It was just like, Facebook is like a lot of people will just become friends with musicians.
Yeah.
So I happened to already be friends with Hugo, and I happened to already be friends with Stevie. Maybe not Hugo at that point, but I reached out to them both, and I was like, hey guys, you guys are in 2 incredibly sick bands that are very inspiring, and I look up to, and I was curious, if you guys want to check out this material, so I just sent them guitar profiles, actually. I know Hugo liked it. He was going to be a session bassist at the time, though, so, whether he loved it or not, that's between him and him. But, I mean, he eventually, for the full-length album, became a full-time member because he really liked what we were doing, and now he's amazing with it. Like, he's very helpful. He tries to help push us out there, so I love it. He's very passionate about it. But Stevie, on the other hand, he said he heard, the first 40 seconds of Alchemic Web of Deceit, the guitar profile, and he was like, he knew instantly he was hooked and he wanted to be a part.
I think it's just cool to have all these different people coming into your project, especially with all the experience that these people have. Just looking on the Facebook, all the past bands and current bands that all these guys were and are in. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. For me, I was always just this rabid tech death fanboy, and I knew all the bands in tech death that people loved, Velanath and Beyond Creation, Obscura. And, I knew what was the stuff that people loved because I was one of those people. And I was like, man, if I can get a lineup of just these people from all these sick bands, I got to really have something special here. Now, I didn't feel bad about it because I did compose music, so it's not like I, channeled in their compositional skills or piggybacked off it. Yeah.
I just really wanted people that I knew were up to the task of playing what I had because I actually thought,
just bring it to another kind of level.
I just really, because although they didn't compose, they each have their own
Yeah.
special.
I'm going to talk about that later once we get to the album to see like what they kind of added to the record, to your own composition. But anyway, for like your project, it started out small and getting all these members and creating this album. You guys actually made it up on Billboard to the 25 Heat Seekers / New Artists. You also got to like the top of Bandcamp's metal section. So what's it like to have this success for a first release, and does this give you confidence or pressure going forward?
Definitely both. I'm just still speechless. When I found out, I got an email from somebody at Billboard saying like, "Oh, hey, there's a chance you might chart." Like, I just looked at it. I kind of laughed at my phone and I started screaming at the top of my lungs because nobody was home. Like, I couldn't believe it because I was thinking to myself like, man, like tech death bands do not chart on the billboards that much, especially like debut albums. Like that's almost unheard of, But like we did well enough to where we can make that. I just couldn't believe it, and then. Come Tuesday, I got to go on Billboard.com and look and see like our actual name was amongst all these pop bands and stuff. I was above myself, man. Like I was like, wow, this is really happening. But that does put a lot of pressure because, in my mind, I don't know what it is the people that like their music like about our music. I don't know if it was they love the technicality, they love the melody, the song structures.
Yeah.
I don't want to do like a Demiurgus 2.0. I want to progress. We're with the piano and the acoustic guitars and the orchestration. It's probably obvious that we're not exactly like trying our hardest to be just a conventional
regular. Yeah,
we don't want to be like another Obscura. Like I love Obscura, I love the Necrophages, but we don't want to rip those bands off. We want to do something
new
different
and cool.
The natural order of things for us is to progress more, which means we might, be a little less technical for our second album, a little more focused on
just kind of changing the genre up a bit.
And I'm hoping that, it still keeps people interested enough, and then we have new fans as time, progresses, and people aren't going to be like, oh, well, this sucks, like this music's kind of dialed down.
And I think
we'll see.
I think the genre has been kind of growing a bit more in the last year or two, especially with Stevie's other band in Fury. You got Shadow of Intent kind of killing it in the game right now in terms of kind of technical metal.
In Fury is definitely the best example I can think of. I talked to Malcolm about it. I said, right now at this stage, I think of our album as being like the path of apotheosis, and my next step is to be like Revenant, where if you hear the two, they're both incredible albums, but Revenant took what Path did and they kind of dialed it back a little with the technicality, and they focused more on melody. But hey, I mean, that worked for them really well because, they made it pretty deep into the Billboard, and, they're touring everywhere with crazy bands. So it's working well for them.
All right, so before we move on and talk about Demiurgus for a bit, let's just hear your favorite releases from this year so far. Any local bands that you've been jamming out to lately that people should check out?
I haven't heard anything local. I mean, I haven't really had a chance to check out too much stuff this year. I like the new Plaguebringer album. It was a little crazy, but...
they're crazy.
Yeah, they're like super intense. I got to sit on that one a little more. But yeah, that was pretty cool. They had crazy vocals. This is really not my cup of tea usually, but Animus, I don't know how you say their name, Dreamcatcher. They're like progressive deathcore. Like I said, it's not really something I usually listen to, but they make really good use of like, I don't know, their chords and everything. So they have these very like vibrant progressions that they use, and it makes it almost sound like happy. It's cool. I've been liking like the real happy melodic sounding. I don't know, something about it is cool, but that's about like all that I've really caught on to this year so far. I know Nocturnus just put out a new song. I'm like a long time Nocturnus fan, but I don't know how I feel about the new Nocturnus song. Like it kind of they were killing it in like 1990, but I don't know if they're gonna have the same impact now.
Actually, I have one more. It was actually listener's question from like 10 minutes or so ago. They called in and they like really liked what they heard from your album Demiurgus, and he wanted to know what were maybe some bands that you took inspiration from to create that sound and that album.
I'd definitely say Gorod's pretty high up there. I love Gorod. Inferi, definitely. Obscura, Necrophagus. Honestly, a lot of people say it, but I don't think they really inspired me as a writer, as Beyond Creation. Like, I love the whole bass and everything, but I don't think, when I write riffs, I don't think of stuff from Beyond Creation. I think more like Necrophagus and Obscura. Martyr, they're a Canadian band from the 90s that is defunct now, and the guitarist is in Voivod now. Incredible band. And then for the flamenco stuff and all that, I'm really into Paco de Lucia and Al Demiola.
All right, so let's talk about Demiurgus. Your latest album came out last Friday, I believe, right? About a week ago.
Yeah. Or no, sorry, the 8th.
The 8th, yeah. Let's start out with the album title and the album artwork. So what was the process of kind of choosing the name and picking the image on the cover to represent the release?
Demiurgus basically means a creator, and the album's based off of the concept of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which is an anime. And there's a part in the anime where this deity father basically, he channels all the energy from all these humans to basically become this massive creature that comes out of this transmutation circle. And he goes up to the moon, and for some reason, heaven's there, and he goes in and he swallows God and becomes him. So this picture on the album art is basically referencing that scene.
Okay, I was trying to figure out like how it was playing into the anime, but now you saying that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, like we did our own spin on it because we didn't want to just like directly rip it off. Yeah, we basically that's the whole scene going on there.
How did you and Steve take kind of like the approach to kind of like implement this story into your music?
So basically, when I first started talking, we were like spitballing concepts because we knew we wanted to do a concept. And there was a video game I really liked called Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne. And it had a really cool concept where basically the fate of the world is in your hands. So like at the end of the game, you can decide to destroy it or rule it or whatever you want to do. And we just liked the concept. He basically also kills God, I think, at the end, if I recall. It's been a while since I played, but I swear I'm not like some edgy... I don't know, the concepts are usually pretty cool. But yeah, he started playing the game, and then his disc corrupted or something, so he kind of just gave up on that. And then he told me about Full Metal Alchemist, and then I crushed it in like a week or something.
Dude, it's that good. Highly recommend for people who have never watched it.
And I was
crazy.
I was like, Stevie, let's do this, man. Let's make this the concept because I love this, and I'm so glad he did because the lyrics he did for this are like unreal. He seriously knocked it out of the park. Like I've heard so many people say they want to watch Full Metal. They started watching it because of this album, and I think Full Metal Alchemist owes us some royalty check. No, but I mean, like I actually started rewatching it again, and we're gonna start actually doing. It's kind of corny, but we're gonna start doing some AMVs for some of the songs, because in this particular instance, the lyrics actually tie into the video that's playing. So, I don't know. We had some cool ideas.
With the concept album, is that something you want to continue with future releases?
Yes, it is, because the next album we're going to do is actually going to be based on Majora's Mask.
Oh my god. Amazing.
So, we definitely like to keep it nerdy.
So,
after that, I'll do Final Fantasy, but...
So when you're going to start writing the new music, are you going to try to kind of like implement different kind of like music from like the in-game soundtrack?
It's a different approach. I actually wrote 3 of the songs already. So basically, in my mind, the way I started writing is each song, like there's going to be like core songs, and there'll be off tracks, but like there's going to be 5 core songs, and each one is going to be related to. In my mind, I related them to the zones, like the snow zone. I wrote like kind of a black metal-y track for the water track, or for the water area. It's kind of like almost like a Cynic-y vibe, like super airy and like atmospheric-y. And then for like the swamp, I made it like nice and sludgy and this like heavy. So it's like all going to be way more diverse than the first album. It's not going to all be like top speed, like 240 BPM plus constant blast beats. It'll be like a lot of diversity just to kind of keep it fresh, but also so that the listener can feel like what they're getting out of the track relates to, you know, the lyrical concepts.
So after you write all these songs on, say, on Guitar Pro, how does everyone else like play into like adding their own parts into these songs?
So I'm actually doing it on guitar this time, and then I program the drums and bass. But then I'm gonna retab that, and I basically send it out to everybody and say, hey, like here's your part, here's your part, here's your part, and then everybody just does their thing. And you know, because everybody has recording software, it's as easy as just exporting a MIDI track. Like it gives you the time signatures, tempos, and everything. And everybody just records their parts based off tabs, and then we get it together and we send it to an audio engineer, and you know, we keep it as simple as that.
Did you guys record at one single studio for this release, or
we all recorded at home?
Wow, that's crazy to think about, especially the production on this record.
Even the drums were recorded in Chasen's house.
Wow,
with no dampening.
That's crazy.
Just open like mics and everything, and I don't know. I guess because his room was small, it was kind of dense. But yeah, like the audio tracks came out perfect from him. You know, there was no like excessive noise or anything.
Yeah.
And even if there was a little, like, I don't really care because the drums came out super clean, so I was happy. You know.
Another like crazy thing about this album, I thought, was just the amount of guest musicians that you had on different and various tracks. You had Julian Dyers, Colin Butler, and Nate Miller as a couple of examples. So how did you get these people involved with this record? So
Julian, I've just been a long-time Gorod fan, so I just reached out to him, and again, he was like, yeah, sure, no problem. So he didn't charge me or anything. None of the guests except Christian was the only one. Christian Munizer was the only one to charge me, but that's because he was doing a crowdfund for Eternity Zen's first album, which two of our in that band now, Phil and Jimmy. But I bought the crowdfund because I was like, yeah, I want to support that, but also, like, yeah, I'll take a guest solo from Christian. But yeah, Christian was the only one I paid for. The rest of the people were my friends, like Colin. Colin and I are bandmates in our other band, Virulent Depravity.
Mm.
And then Nate, I was just friends with already, and I knew he was doing guest spots for a lot of bands now. Ryan Cho, he knew that Nate was doing that, so he's like, "Oh, let me do viola," and I was like, "I don't care, it's cool." And then the rest of the dudes, were label mates, like Jack and Dennis, and
yeah, I can definitely say they added kind of another level to the record, kind of like adding their own parts.
Guest guitarist, actually, on the 13th track, Cast into Exile, he was just supposed to do guitar solos, and then I was like, "Hey, man, like, you just want to join?" Because, like, apparently Stevie told me that he was talking to Phil, and Phil was, like, I guess, quote-unquote, envious that he was a part of this. So I was like, wow, like, I can't believe it. I look up to Phil a lot. Like, I didn't think he liked this. So I was like, hey, man, just, you're welcome to join. He's like, yeah.
Sure.
I freaked out. I had a little fanboy moment.
So one of kind of the biggest characteristics of this record is just kind of the crazy dynamics that it has. It has slow to fast beats per minute. It goes from light to heavy with the nylon guitars, solos, whatever it may be. Pretty much you have it. Was it difficult to create these songs cohesively at first?
No, honestly, I just wrote like the meaty songs at first. I banged those out real quick, and then I kind of ordered them out, and they seemed to just sort of order together. But it was I was inspired by Gorod's EP Transcendence, where they took like acoustic versions of metal tracks of theirs and they turned them into acoustic songs. Mm. If you never checked that EP out, by the way, it's unreal. But I did that, and I did that for Sigil Insidious and Dualis Flamel, and then I realized, like, wow, like, it's really nice to have these acoustic tracks bridging, because I jam-packed, so, like, I realized a lot of bands falter because they put so much intensity into a track, but then there's no breathing room between them. But I hated the idea of breathing room, honestly. I was like, I want my songs to be uncompromisingly intense. How do I remedy this? I'm like, okay, well then I do some interludes, like functional ones.
Yeah.
That like at least I don't have to compromise or sacrifice intensity in the core songs, but
Okay.
still have breathing room through the album. And then, that's why every song, if you listen to the album, every single song is broken up by some sort of either acoustic piece or some sort of...
Which led to kind of like the 14 track listing and kind of like that hour
and believe me,
length.
I was very petrified of doing that, because I was like, I know a lot of metal fans are not going to go for like the split up sort of... But apparently, people are loving it, like the interludes. I see so many people telling me how much they love the interludes and everything, and I'm just so happy, because I was really anxious about that part.
As for me, transitions kind of make and break an album.
Exactly. Like I honestly always hate transitions, and then for some reason I felt really good about these ones. I was like, I don't know if this is just because I wrote it, but I actually like these transitions, and it seems a lot of people agree. So.
It goes into it again with people wanting something new, and that's what I think you guys provide, especially with those interludes and kind of giving that breathing room and getting into the core songs and just kind of giving a bit of everything. But anyway, for anyone listening to this record for maybe like the first time, the second time, the fifth time, whatever it may be, what are small production details that people should listen out for? Whether it's like a small guitar melody, small vocal part, what should people look out for?
The one regret I have about the production of this album is the orchestration. Can't really hear it too well, but I literally have like in every single track, I did full compositions of orchestration. I'm talking like there's 20 instruments or so going on at all times in the background throughout every single song. Like we cut a couple parts, but not a lot. So you can't really hear it as much, but there's a bunch of like viola and upright bass and cello and just horns and stuff all going in the background. You can't really hear them anymore. I'd almost think they got taken out without me knowing. But I don't think so, because you can still hear them in some songs, but yeah, I was kind of sad, but it's no fault to my engineer. Mike did an amazing job, but it was my fault for making the music so like top geared all the time. So
yeah.
there wasn't a lot of room for like letting the orchestration kind of stand out. So that was my fault. That was an amateur. This was my first ever album.
So let's talk about that. What do you want to try and improve on with the next release?
Well, it seems like a lot of people do enjoy us, which I'm happy about. But there's still the naysayers that like, oh, we're too technical in this and that. I don't really hear it, because I've listened to way more technical sounding bands. Like I think Archspire is a lot more technical, or Brain Drill. I thought we did a pretty good job of balancing like melody and tech, but for that case, I would like to be able to prove that we don't need to really worry about tech next time around. Tech was just my answer to like wanting to really flesh out metal, because I feel like with like more melodic technical death metal, it gives you the chance to really expand upon melodies. Whereas like with less technical metal, melodies are kind of implied, where you use like simpler chords, but with tech death, it lets you really flesh out your playing. And I mean, I might take a stab at just kind of simplifying it a bit and then seeing what comes out of that.
All right, so how about you share your plans for 2019, and after that, just give people where people can keep up to date with you and find your music.
Okay, so my plans for 2019. Well, I'm in 3 other projects. Like Virulent Depravity, who is also on the Artisan Era. We're doing like a jazz fusion tech death album. It's, to put it lightly, I don't want to write music for Equipoise anymore, because I'm so like just discouraged by how incredible it sounds now. It's seriously, I've never heard anything like it. It's unbelievably good, and that has a lot to do with Colin just being such a brilliant composer. But we also work together really well, so it's exciting. The other band I'm in is Kosith, which features members of Dawn of Dementia and the bassist who recorded on Revenant for Inferi. That band is insane as well. We're working on composition. I feel bad. I feel like I've been kind of slowing them down, but there's another project I'm in with Kaylin Stokerman and my friend Nick Wires called Ascent of Ephosis, where that's been going kind of slow, but that's just because I've been incredibly busy and
yeah.
of what to do. I might start wrapping up some more composition for Equipoise this year, but I don't know. I might not even touch it until 2020 because
just the amount of stuff you're writing for right now is ridiculous.
Yeah, we might be touring at the end of 2019. In fact, I'm pretty sure we are. It's very intimidating because it's going to be my first tour. But it's going to be like an insane tour with bands I can't even believe. And then 2020, I'm looking into doing some more tours. I just want to hit like all the U.S. and Canada, and then maybe later 2020 or 2021 we can do some European stuff if we're big enough by then.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to take us out and then find out like nobody cares about us. Not that it matters, but it also costs money to.
Yeah.
It's an expensive mistake to make. So I'm not in a rush to really, get us out touring until
then just fall flat.
But fanfare for it.
Yeah. So where can people find your music and keep up to date?
Pretty much any major distributor like Apple, Google, Amazon, Bandcamp. You can listen to our album stream on YouTube, Spotify, Deezer. I know there's another streaming service, Apple Music. I don't know all the services, but pretty much any service you can imagine will be on there.
What about Instagram or Facebook?
Okay, our Instagram is Equipoise Tech Dev. Facebook is just Equipoise, but I welcome anybody to add me on my personal page, Nick Padovani, because I really love. I think it's like really important to be engaging to all the people. I accredit a lot of our successes to us just being very personable to everybody, and don't want that to ever stop. Like I love engaging the people that like our music. I can't wrap my head around musicians not wanting to be like that.
Yeah,
I can go an hour on about that, but I won't. But definitely welcome that.
All right. Well, thanks, Nick, for joining me and talking about your latest release. Everyone, make sure to follow Equipoise on Facebook, Spotify, whatever it may be. And stay tuned for the rest of the show.